Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. So I thought I'd get on and have a little play with my cinch because I can't wait. And I know there are a couple of my viewers that wanted to see how I went with it. So what I'm making is not too exciting at all, but it's something that I want to do for myself. And yeah, I just really wanted to use the cinch, figure out how to use the cinch, and show others who might not have used one how to use it, hopefully. I have had a quick play with it last night, just because I wanted to see how easy the instructions were to follow and that it was all working okay. So, and yeah, really happy with it. So what I'm making, as I said, isn't very exciting, but I don't really have time at the moment to make some magnificent project with it or anything. That's for the future because I have other projects that I need to get on with it at the present time. But I have these. I had a whole stack of them that I picked up from the bookstore. They're just these cards, information cards on different Australian themes, I think. So I have been cutting these down into pages to make these little glue book pads, I think you'd probably call them, for myself to do magazine glue booking in. Something that I've wanted to do for ages, and I've kept these cards specifically for that because they're very nice and thick and sturdy, and I think they'll be great as glue book pages because I can stick the magazine pages onto both sides of them. So I want to make a smaller one and a bigger one, and I thought it would be great to cinch the pages together. It'll be easy to turn them over and lay them flat when I want to start collaging on them. So I thought I would take you along with me while I try and do that. So all I've been doing is just cutting these down. I thought while my blade's blunt in this, it won't mind cutting these. So I've just been cutting them down at about 8 inches across. And then I think I've been doing, is it 11 or something? Around about, yeah, 11 down for my big book, just to make a nice big page. So I've got enough big pages, I reckon, but I just need a couple more of my smaller pages. So I think I've been doing 5 7/8. 5 7/8. And one of them's a bit wider than the other one there. I think we're doing the smaller sized one, but I'll figure that out afterwards. We'll just cut a few first. So I hope you are all healthy and happy. I'm digesting my pork roast that I had with some salad for tea, which was yummy. Managed to get out in the garden for a little bit today because we had a tad of sunshine, which was lovely. And I cleaned out my car, took all the rubbish out of it because it's off for its service tomorrow, so I thought I'd better do that. Don't know why I was measuring that because I don't need to cut it again. That's what happens when I'm talking. My brain stops working when I'm talking. Now I've cut most of the pages. I just needed a few more because I did make a little booklet last night and I felt like I could fill it up a bit more. I thought I'd have it about 1/3 of the width of the cinch binding, which sounds quite sensible to me, but then I realised that the magazine pages aren't really that thick when I'm collaging, so I could probably make it, you know, up to half the width and it would be fine. I just don't want it too bulky. Just finish cutting these. Get the ones that I cut. So I'll show you this. This is the one I did last night. And that worked out quite well. And as you can see, there's still a fair bit of room. But I mean, if you're doing it like a journal and adding pockets and that, it's going to bulk out a lot. And you don't want to really overfill these too much. So I want to make another one like that. So I've got these cards, but I thought we can, there's the same amount of these as I put in that one that I just showed you. So I thought we could add a couple more. They look like they're the right size. So that's what we're going to do. And then I've got a stack of these bigger ones here. Not quite as many, but that will do. So now I will grab the cinch over. So I am still a beginner, so bear with me. I have only used it once. Now, the first thing that it said to do, I did do last night. Well, the first thing is to unlock the little lock thing here. So that just holds your little arm down, just like that. It's got an elastic band thing, so you can just pull that off and it all lifts up like that. The second thing that's good to do before you get started is check the width of your coils. Now my coils I know are 1 inch and you have the measurements along here. So you press this thing down and it makes a clicky noise. And it's a bit hard to move, but you press it down, twist it around to get it to move to the number you want of the width of your coils. So I've got mine set to the 1 inch, so I know that's ready to go. That's for your little presser, so that it only goes down to the 1 inch, apparently. Now, it also has a little waste bin. I did note a few still coming out the top when I was cutting that weren't going into the waste bin, but most of them did apparently end up in my little waste bin there. So I will tip that lot out. So that drawer just slips in there. Like that. And then we've got our pegs there. So when you push the arm down, you see the pegs go down. Now they do go down unevenly because apparently it punches unevenly, and that's quite normal because that sort of worried me a bit at the start. So you can like gently pull these pegs out a little bit, and when you pull them out, that disables that punch. So you can decide which ones you want to punch and you can disable a whole heap. So if you want to do, if you want to bind with like 3 rings, you can disable a few here and a few there and just have your 1 and your 7 and your 12 punching so that you can do just 3 ring binding and stuff like that, which is really cool as well. So, and you can also bind really long pages. So there's not really a limit. You can keep moving your paper along and bind, and that's why I wanted one of these ones, so I could do short pages and long pages. So, and you've got your ruler here, so you can move that to help you with your longer pages and that. And then the other part to it is this area here. You can put your coils on that, and then that holds your coils so you can easily put your pages on one by one. And then lift it off with all your pages on ready to press the binding down when you're ready. So I hope I've explained that all right. Now I'll just get my coils. I knew I'd forget something. I was worried about how the coils would come apart, but I had no problems pulling the first lot of coils off, which was really cool. So anyone who watched the unboxing would know that I purchased this, which is the We Are Memories Keeper Cinch Rayher, or Cinch / Rayher binding machine on Amazon AU. And I also got the coils from there. They're the 1 inch black coils. Now these are both listed below. If you're interested to go and have a look, there's a link down below. Okay, so in the instructions, it does have this little quick guide, but then it has more instructions further on that tell you a bit more how to do it. So I read all of it just so I had better knowledge. But the quick guide's really good to read because it has this little guide here that shows you which pegs to pull out if you're doing like if you're doing a 4 inch book, you want to pull out peg 8, apparently. So I'm doing one that's about 6 inches. So it means I pull out peg 12 just to make sure that I don't punch a hole right in the edge of my pages. So I'll show you that while I'm doing it so you know what I mean. So this is a really handy little guide, a little quick guide for if you're doing like a smaller little book or something. But I figure that if you, once you know what you're doing, you can sort of see where you want it to punch and where you don't want it to punch. So I did the little book, I cut my binding, so I still have this left. This I think will be quite adequate for the little book that I'm doing tonight. So I'll get the 2 little books out of the 1 lot of binding, which is economical. But I think for a big book we will have to cut some off, so you'll be able to see how I go about doing that as well. Now also, when you first get it, if you get a brand new one, the first thing they tell you to do is get some blank scrap paper and do a few punches, because there is some residual grease and that on the punches. So I grabbed some scrap paper here and I went through it a few times, and I did notice some marks and that from the grease that was on there. I don't know how well you can see it, just a little bit, and you don't want that to ruin your project. So definitely do give it a bit of a clean before you start on your project. Okay, hopefully I'll just check that you can see all right. I don't want to see where the handle is. So I think it says you can do like 20 papers at a time with one of these, which is pretty all right. Now this is quite sort of thickish, so I was doing 3 at a time and went through that fine. Look, I think I probably could do 5, but I don't want to push my luck, so I will stick to the 3, I think. So I'll grab the 3. Now what we will do is I will check my measurements. Now this says it's just under 6. I'm just looking here. I might even be able to, if I flick it up, you'll probably get a better look. Now if you can see here, we won't be using the 12 at all. So I'm going to just gently pull that out, and you can sort of hear it click, and that will deactivate that one, so that's not going to punch. Now I'm looking at the 11 there, and that looks pretty close to the edge, and I don't like that, so I think I'll deactivate that one too. That means the 10's going to be in about there, and the 1's going to be in about there. I'm thinking maybe if I pull the ruler over a bit, just to make it so the 1's about there. I mean, you could measure it and stuff, but I'm not too fussed. I'm thinking that might be a little more even, hopefully. I'll have a bit of a check when I put it down. I haven't got it angled like this. But I think that might be a bit better. So I've deactivated these 2 so they won't punch. So we've just got 1 to 10 punching in this area here. So we'll see how that goes. I think that'll be fine. As I said, it's for me, so I'm not too fussed. So I'm just going to make sure these are together nicely. Another issue is you've got to be careful just making sure that you've got it butted up against the back there and not push too hard against the back, but to make sure they are up against there, or else you will offline your punches. And then just carefully push it down. So we'll have a look. That's not too bad. So just a process of going through, lining them up, making sure they're in there enough, pressing it down. So I will continue along and hole punch all of the pieces that we want for our little book, and then we'll come on and do the next bit. Okay, so I've finished punching all my pages now. Just get them together, and you can see all the pages are punched quite evenly there. I'd forgotten at the start that I was trying to punch them where it has the widest sort of white margin here, because I figure if I'm using it as a collage book, I'll probably only be able to collage down this section because we've got the binding up there, and it'll look better if we have white up there. So hopefully that will look good. So what we do now is grab our binding, and where the thicker bits are here, you can sit them quite neatly just over. Hopefully you can see that. Oh yeah, you can see that fine. You can sit them just over these little bits here. And they sit nice and neat so that you've got easy access to these little pointy bits to put your little bits over. Now, if I was good, last night, it says to put the, single pages over, but really you should be able to. Although, am I that good now? I was just thinking we've got 8, don't we? So we don't need the whole lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, we've got 10, have we? 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So we have to cut 2 off. So I'm just going to grab my pliers. So I did find that my sort of heavy duty pliers were the best for this because it is quite thick wire. So you want to cut at the back on the thick bit here, just in the middle. So it might even be easier to do that while it's sort of hanging around here. Let's have a look. Just want to make sure I sort of got it in the middle. That should do. It's not quite middle. More middle. There we go. So it's pretty easy to cut if you've got a good pair of pliers. Okay, easy. So let's see if it's easy to do multiple pages. Oh yeah. Only because my pages are all the same size. And nice and firm pages. Okay, so this holder makes it very easy to be able to do that. So then you just lift it up and take it off. Now, yes, it is like that. Now we want to put this into our little squeezy bit. There's probably a proper term for it, but I'm calling it a little squeezy bit, so that the open mouth bit sits against the back of the cinch. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is the back of your cinch there. So we want that open mouth to be butt up against that. You just want to make sure as it's closing down that your little hook bits don't get stuck in these little open bits. So, and like it says there, don't put your fingers in there too much. You sort of got to hold it sort of in there so it doesn't fall out and that and move around as it's coming down. But you do it really slowly. And yeah, it is fine. They like to put things like that there just to scare you, I swear. So you won't be able to see much of this, I don't think, but I think you'll get the gist. So I tend to just put your pages down like that. Just make sure it's sort of standing up. And then I'm sort of making sure that the bottom bits are touching the back nice and straight. And the top bits are touching the back. And then we'll see how it goes. Now it says in the directions to make the top sort of overlap with the bottom just a little bit. I did struggle with that a bit last night, so we'll see how we go this time. So, and then like you can just hold it like that a bit as you press. So you just go slow and make sure it's all going okay as you go and that they're not getting hooked. Just put my head down. It looks like they're not getting hooked in the little holes. Almost. Here we go. I think they're even overlapping a bit this time. Except they come up a bit. As you sort of release it, they do sort of come up a bit. So it will only let you go to where that 1 inch is. And I'll lift it up and I'll show you what we've got. See? So they're not quite overlapped, which is all right. I had that last night because I figure you can always push it down a bit more yourself and get your pliers out if you have to. I did squeeze it a few more times in my cinch last night to try and get them down a bit more. But if you just push it down like that, I find the pages up weren't coming out or anything when I was turning it. Although they mightn't they? No, they look all right. And then you've got your little pad. So that's how you use your cinch. Yay, it worked. All right, so now I've got to do the big one because that is a bit different. So what I'll do before I forget is just push my little 12 button in and my little 11 button in so that we know that they're all activated now. Okay, so it says for sheets larger than 6 inches. So I'll grab 3 of my big ones. Place sheet against guide and insert into machine, and that's with the guide in original position. So I think we just do that and punch it, which makes sense. And then extend the guide and your sheet all the way, which makes sense. Oh yeah, and then pull out. Then you have to measure your sheet. Now my sheet is about 8 inches, and then I looked on this little quick chart and I looked at 8 inches and it says peg 4. So we'll pull out peg 4 just gently. I'll do it with my left hand so I can do it gently. Now just make sure this is right up. And there we go. And then we will punch again. And that does look correct, actually. Perfect. And you can see it's punched just the way we need it. So then I rinse and repeat that for all of my sheets. So in other words, I'd have to press peg 4 in. So this is where it get a bit time consuming. Press the guide back in, grab another 3 of my sheets. Sometimes I find I have to push the handle right up to make sure it's right up. Extend that out, move it along. Pull out number 4. Make sure that I do that sometimes. My hand or arm will be under there when I press it down. And then that's punched right. So what I'll do is finish the last few pages doing that. So I have now punched all of the pages for that, and that was relatively easy and quick once I got the gist of it. Also, I did find it a little hard at times pulling out this peg in particular, but I do remember reading that if you're having a bit of issues, you can wriggle it a little bit as you're trying to push them in and pull them out, and that can sometimes make it a bit easier. All in all, I'm finding it really easy to use compared to what I thought. I was a bit scared of using it initially, but I'm actually really happy that I got this because it has just... I just think I'm going to find a lot of uses for it, especially because you can pull the pegs in and out and close off whichever holes you like. Just gives you a lot of scope to try out a lot of different things with it. So now we'll get to binding this one together. So turn it to the side. As I said, I don't know how much you'll see, and I apologise for that. I wish I had cameras all over the place. So pull out these. I do have some other binding wires on their way, some different coloured ones, which I'll show you when they arrive. And that one just pulled apart real nice and easy. So yeah, they've packed these ones together very nicely. Because I do know that some people have had trouble when they've bought this sort of thing trying to get them apart without them bending and that. So these ones are really good. So we'll stick this whole one on and you'll see it fits quite nicely. Perfectly. So, although I do like cutting it first, so we'll figure out how long we need it and we'll give it the chop. So we're going to need to cut it in this one by the looks. So it's probably easier to do it while it is on this thing is probably, I'm a bit, I get a bit scared doing this sort of thing, so I'm wearing my glasses and I feel a bit safer doing that. My dad taught me well. So, it's got my pliers here again, and I'm just going in between. I don't know how much you can see of this. In between on this big bit here, this one. I'll just move it over a little bit. Hopefully I'll get my good glasses this week. I've gone and got myself some decent glasses. It's about time. Might be able to see stuff. Okay, so now, while that's sitting there, I might just move it over like that. Might hold it a bit better. So now I'll put all the pages on. Now let's see if we can do them all at once. Not sure, but we can try. How good am I? Not that good. I think it's only the top one though. Did I do it? I think I did it. Wasn't that easy? I think I'm getting the hang of this. So now again, we'll just double check it's on the 1 inch. Now make sure the mouth goes up against the back. Slide that down and make sure it's sort of sitting up. Now this sort of, I think we're going to have one of the coils is going to be sticking out the end. So I'll have to press down all the coils, I think, except that one. I'm not sure because I haven't done this before, so I'll try that and then we'll have to come back. I'm thinking maybe if we do, maybe we'll do something like that. And then what am I doing? 3, 6. Do about 9 or 10 of them, then I'll come back and do the last 5. And just see how we go doing it like that. I have no idea, but we will give it a go. I probably should read the instructions, shouldn't I? But that's what I'm going to try. I just don't think doing just one on its own is a sensible thing to do. I'm just giving it another press down. I'm going to move it along. I don't think it hurts if you put it down with ones that have been closed. It's just going to press them again. Make sure it's up against the end. Now, I don't think that did it. I don't think they were standing up the way they were meant to be standing up then. Because it didn't really do it circular the way it was meant to. But that's all right because it's still, it's almost closed and better anyway. So I'll just lock it. So yeah, when you're finished, you can just put your little lock strap on again, just hold the arm down. And I'll give it an empty just so I know it's ready to go again next time. I'll have to give it a name, won't I? Now, why is it not going in? What have I done wrong? There we go. So firstly, we have this little button on the side here, which I meant to talk to you about. Now that is for when you're doing long pages. So it holds your pages steady while you're punching them. So I'll show you how that works. So I've grabbed some long pieces of paper here. So what we'll do is our initial punches. And then I'll pull my ruler all the way out to move it across. And then what you do is that allows you to lift it up and then put it down into this second to last hole here. And it will hold these bits of paper for you while it punches all the holes that go along the rest of the way there. So you can't really see because it's on the side, but if I put it the papers up against the end of my ruler here, it pretty well measures up with that little holder, and I can slip that down in, because when I was punching my long papers the other day, sure, you push it in and you can hold it okay, but it's quite easy to wiggle it so it's not quite against the back there, so that ensures that all your papers sort of stay still while you're punching them. And then I can just punch like that and then lift that little switch up, and they're all punched nicely now. So that was that little piece. Also, there is, now I did see on some videos and that there's this little bit here which looks like you should be able to tuck this in somehow. Now I can't figure out how you're meant to do it neatly. I've tried all sorts of things, but you can push it in a bit like that. You can sort of set it like that, so I can't figure out how I'm meant to get it in there sort of so it sits neatly, so I'm going to have to look into that more. But just a note if you want to try that for yourself. Now the other thing I was thinking is I was struggling just a little bit getting, now which one was it? I think I fiddled with these enough to sort of get them together, but when I initially did my my squeezing, they weren't coming together quite enough for my liking, where a page could sort of slip out. I could correct it myself in that, but I thought, well, this is sort of a bit silly. It should be, you should be able to like fix that somehow. So I know you have the smaller amounts for your wires, but you don't want to go down to one of them for the real smaller wires and that. But I thought when you press this down, it goes through all these little stages before it gets there. So I read all my instructions and I looked at a few videos and nothing told me how to deal with it. So I thought I'd just come in and have a look. And it does seem every little click this makes, it does go down lower. So I do think it's just a point of like clicking it down once or twice to get just going down just that little bit lower to push them together that little bit more for you. So that is great. So that will solve that problem. So I know I can adjust it in smaller increments if I want to. So yes, I did just want to tell you that. Now, another thing which is really important, which I didn't tell you because I had completely forgotten and I only just saw it before, and a lot of people have showed this in videos before, and it's very important. Now, I myself didn't have to worry about it because with the books that I made, I don't really have a front and back cover. But I picked up one of the books I have here that has a front and back cover that's been cinched together. And if you have a look at it, you'll see, if you open up the back cover, you'll see that this is where the closure is there. So if you put it around like that, you can see that if we put this on the little hooks, hung it up there ready to put all our pages in, it would sit like that. So this has been all put on with all the pages on first, and then the front cover with the cover upwards, and then the back cover with the outside facing the outside of the front cover on like that. And that's how it's been put together. And that's quite important to have it sort of opening and closing the way it needs to. So, and then when you pick it up, of course, it ends up with the closure bit on the inside there. So that's just something to remember when you do go doing it for yourself. It's very handy if you've got a book that's been cinched to have it next to you, so you can see how it's done like that for the first few times, so you remember to do that for yourself. So I'll be keeping this in here to remind me, hopefully, when I do one with a couple of covers, because as I said, mine don't have covers, but I have gone and done that. So as you can see here, it closes there. So I now have this huge glue book. So as I said, I've specifically made these for my magazine glue books because I wanted one for big glue book pages, because I've kept lots and lots of big magazine pages for backgrounds and for pictures and that. And I thought this would be great because you can open the pages and you can lay them flat, nice and flat. And these are just so sturdy and they're a bit glossy, which is nice to stick the magazines onto with the glue stick. So I think that'll be great. And then I can just turn it around and do the other side as well. So I think they're going to be wonderful. Now also I had a bit of a whoopsie with this one, which I showed you when I was cinching it, that this, I cinched like half and then cinched the other half, and this half is nice and round, and then this side I don't think I had it placed quite correct, and so it's not very round. So I need a bit of practice, but that was just me not being very careful with my placement. But that is all right. We learn through doing these things. So I've got that beautiful big glue book now, and then I've got these two little ones. Now you can see here that I haven't done with these ones yet, because you can see there the closure bit. But I haven't done what I have to do with the page, and I get confused when I try and do it now. Offhand. Is it that? I think it's that. So, and then in the back page you've got the closure there. And so that's how it looks, so you don't actually see it. So with these I can have one that's, if I want to, I can glue things down on one that's portrait and have one that's landscape, or mix it up, doesn't really matter. But these will be two sort of smaller size glue books that I can use, and I love them. It's great recycling these card bits. Little books that I've made myself, so I really love it. And I still have all of these coils to do some of my journals with now, and as I said, I'll keep all the scraps as well to play around with, to do some more binding with. So yeah, as I said, if you're interested in having a look at any of these, just go below where I have listed the Amazon products that I love, and I'll have links to this sort of stuff down there. They'll be on most of my videos, so you should be able to check them out a lot of the time if you're looking for them. So take care of yourselves, happy crafting, and I shall see you again soon. Bye.